What happens when Formula One's most legendary team becomes the one holding itself back? In a sport where every millisecond counts, Ferrari showed up to Miami with power under the hood, but confusion on the pit wall. The stage was electric, Miami's floodlights casting long shadows over a race weekend filled with promise and pressure. Ferrari's red cars looked fast, the kind of fast that had fans daring to believe this might finally be the breakthrough. But what unfolded instead was something far more unsettling. In the middle of the Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton's voice came through the radio, calm but cutting. "This is not good teamwork." Just 12 words, but they landed like a punch to the chest of Ferrari's strategy team. Because beneath the roar of the engines and the glitz of a Miami night, something was breaking, and Hamilton had just called it out for the world to hear. Hamilton didn't come to Ferrari just for a change of scenery. He came chasing history. After 7 world titles and years of dominance with Mercedes, this move was about one thing: legacy. He wanted to take Ferrari back to the top, to build something iconic, and win that elusive 8th championship with the most famous team in Formula One. And heading into Miami, it felt like that dream might actually be taking shape. That belief began to crumble just a few laps into the race. When Jack Doohan's Alpine came to a stop, it triggered a virtual safety car, an opening that clever teams live for. Hamilton reacted instantly, diving into the pits for a fresh set of medium tyres. It was a bold call, the kind that can flip a race. He came back out flying, slicing into a 10-second gap to his teammate Charles Leclerc like a driver on a mission. The undercut was working perfectly. With each lap, the time difference shrank. All Hamilton needed was the green light to go past. Just a simple nod from the team to make the move while his tyres were still at their best. But instead of a response, he got silence. Lap after lap, nothing came. No strategy adjustment, no urgency. Finally, after 3 painful laps, Ferrari replied, not with a go-ahead, but with an instruction to just stay within DRS. It was the racing version of being told to hold your breath while the clock runs out. By the time Hamilton was given any real direction, the edge on his tyres was gone. What could have been a charge through the field became a slow, frustrating stall, caused not by the car, but by the people calling the shots. By the time Ferrari finally responded, the damage was already done. Hamilton's fresh mediums had cooled off, losing their edge lap by lap. Stuck behind Leclerc in dirty air, his grip started to vanish. Aerodynamics in Formula One are brutal like that. Get too close to the car in front, and suddenly your tyres overheat, your downforce drops, and your perfect plan goes up in smoke. The data would later show it clearly. Ferrari's hesitation cost Hamilton nearly 12 seconds of race time. Still, he kept pushing. At turn 17, he finally made the move, swept past Leclerc with clean, confident driving, the kind that wins races. But just 14 kilometres later, the team told him to give the place straight back. No strategy reason, no tyre cliff, no big picture logic, just a flat order to undo the pass. Over the radio, Hamilton's voice didn't crack, but you could hear everything in it. Sarcasm, frustration, disbelief. "Should I let everyone through?" he asked, half joking, half serious. It was more than a reaction. It was the sound of trust breaking in real time. While Ferrari was caught in its own confusion, other teams were showing exactly how it's supposed to be done. McLaren in particular put on a masterclass. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris worked like clockwork: clean pit stops, smart tyre management, and crystal clear communication. They started second and fourth and turned it into a stunning 1-2 finish without putting a foot wrong. Over at Red Bull, even Max Verstappen was having problems. His car, normally glued to the track, was slipping and sliding with tyre graining. But even with those issues, Red Bull adapted on the fly, adjusting strategy and salvaging points. That's the difference. In modern Formula One, reacting fast isn't optional. It's survival. While McLaren and Red Bull responded to every curveball the race threw at them, Ferrari hesitated, debated, and second-guessed themselves. And in a sport where every second matters, that kind of indecision isn't just costly, it's the reason they're not on the podium. As if the race hadn't already been chaotic enough, the final lap brought one more twist. Carlos Sainz, who'd swapped his Ferrari seat for Williams over the winter, made a daring move on Hamilton. With sparks flying as their wheels locked, Sainz dove down the inside, snatching away a spot from his former teammate. The drama wasn't just in the move, it was the fact that there was no penalty, no investigation, just two drivers fighting it out. And in that moment, there was something poetic about it. Here was a former Ferrari driver, now in a different team, taking on the new guy, Hamilton, who was supposed to lead Ferrari back to greatness. It was a pure race, no politics, no team orders, just raw grit. Sainz had no obligation to play nice, and he didn't. He showed Hamilton that sometimes it's not about the car or the strategy, it's about the fight in you. And on that final lap, it was Sainz who came out on top. Hamilton's struggles started long before the race even began. In qualifying, he found himself way down in 12th, a far cry from where he expected to be. The SF25 just wasn't behaving, constantly fighting him through every corner. The rear suspension, in particular, was unstable in the low-speed turns, making the car feel unpredictable. Meanwhile, on the other side of the garage, Leclerc was having a smoother ride. The same car, but a different result, thanks to tiny tweaks in the setup and a far more connected relationship with his engineers. The difference wasn't just in the hardware, it was in the harmony between driver and team. And that's where Hamilton's problem lay. His partnership with his race engineer, Riccardo Adami, felt out of sync. There was no flow, no rhythm. Radio messages were often delayed, and when they did come through, they felt reactive rather than proactive. In a sport like Formula One, where precision is everything, those seconds of hesitation can feel like hours. As a driver, you need more than just instructions. You need belief. And right now, Hamilton's belief was starting to fade. With every confused radio message and every missed opportunity, the trust between driver and engineer was slowly crumbling. As the season wore on, the consequences of Ferrari's missteps became impossible to ignore. They slipped down the constructors' standings, now trailing McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes. The once promising Ferrari project, full of hope at the start, was now stuck in the middle of the pack. Hamilton, too, was feeling the weight of it. Sitting in 7th place in the driver standings, he was 16 points behind, and nearly a full race win away from Oscar Piastri in the lead. It wasn't just a matter of finishing well anymore, it was about every second, every decision, and every opportunity slipping away. In Miami, for instance, Hamilton lost 11.9 seconds, time that was the difference between chasing George Russell for 5th place or settling for a frustrated 8th. In Formula One, that's the margin between hope and defeat. Every second that slips by isn't just a lost position, it's a lost chance at a championship. And with Ferrari struggling to adapt, Hamilton's dream of that 8th title was looking more and more distant. The problems at Ferrari go deeper than just the strategy calls. They're rooted in the culture of the team itself. There are too many voices, too many conflicting ideas, and not enough clear, decisive leadership. In a sport like Formula One, where every moment counts, this lack of direction has been a serious handicap. They must prioritise urgency over tradition, because right now, Ferrari feels stuck in the past. If the team doesn't evolve, the SF25 will remain another what-if car, sitting in a museum of missed opportunities, its potential never realised. It's a painful thought for any fan of Ferrari, watching a team with so much history and passion, wasting precious seasons with indecision and hesitation. Without change, the dream of victory will slip further away, leaving only questions of what could have been. As the race unfolded and the frustrations mounted, one thing became clear. Hamilton's silence spoke louder than any radio message ever could. When a 7-time world champion like Lewis Hamilton starts to lose faith in the team around him, the entire paddock takes notice. The unanswered question now hangs in the air. Is this just a temporary misfire, a brief bump in the road, or is it something deeper, a terminal failure of the Ferrari project? The truth is, only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Ferrari came to Miami chasing a miracle. They left with a mess. And the microphones are still live, waiting to capture every word, every move, as the team's future hangs in the balance. Will they fix the cracks in the foundation, or will this season slip away as another what could have been in Ferrari's storied history? The world is watching, and the answer is yet to come.